What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? How are you doing? Welcome in to the writer's room. Today I got Alec and Alex, but we're going to refer to Alex as Doc for tonight and maybe moving forward. Welcome back. You guys obviously should probably know Alec by now, viewers, but let's welcome in Alex to the writer's room. Doc, Alex, for the first time this offseason. How you doing?
Hey, I'm doing pretty good. Just speaking of the doc, I've been working my thighs out all off season. Just getting the articles pumped out. Just a couple lunges. The usual.
Alec, how you doing?
Same old, just same thing, different day.
Well, glad to hear you guys are doing well. We'll hopefully round off the weekend well for you Bills fans. And we're going to jump into the most recent articles from this week. Ironically enough, Alec and my article dropped, I think it was the same day, and they were like pretty much rivaling articles. Yeah. They talked about the same thing on two different sides of the coin. Yep. So it'll be nice to have this conversation again. And obviously, Doc, we'll get your opinions on all of it. So we'll jump right into it. I'm going to plug Alec's article here, and it was essentially an article about what the Bills should do with Stefon Diggs's cap space, all that, the restructure and how that opens up cap space and what the Bills should do with it moving forward. So before we jump into the specifics, I want to get each of your guys' opinions on where you favor, not even looking at this team, what you would favor in terms of team building when it comes to offense or defense. Obviously, knowing what we know about modern NFL, it kind of leans offense right now. But do you guys prefer to build the defense first prior to getting to the offense? I'll start with you, Alec, and then we'll get to you, Doc. What do you think?
I think building the offense, it's contradictory to what I wrote about this week. But I definitely think the offense is more important. Like you said, offensive-driven league. We definitely need to get more offensive pieces before you start working on your defense. Get your offense done, get the points put up, and then worry about stopping other teams.
Right. Doc, what about you?
Offense is most important here, but it can't be understated that you need a good defense. At least you need some special parts when it comes to the postseason. So we're going to need the anecdote for the teams that we're going to need to play. So I think that's why we put so much stock into a pass rush, because we saw what that can do to Mahomes to get us to the next level, try to get us into the Super Bowl.
Exactly. And obviously, Alec is somehow disconnected, so I'll remove him for now, and I'll add him back when he gets his stuff figured out. But we'll move on without him, and we'll bring him back in when we get his points on it. And I think you specifically, Doc, you referred to like how it applies to certain teams and how it can be different in each situation. And that's why I wanted to get your guys' opinions on how you philosophically value offense and defense when it doesn't apply to the Bills. But then when you apply it to the Bills, it's a whole different ballgame, because obviously what we know about the 2020 Buffalo Bills, their defense was, middle of the road. They didn't start out too great, but they started to figure it out as the year progressed. But the offense, whole year, rocking and rolling, nothing wrong, bumps along the road, but like they were rocking and rolling. They were the catalyst to the success from 2020. So I know Alex wrote about it, and because of the cap space, he's saying, like, why is everyone talking about adding people like Zach Ertz? Why are people talking about making additions to this offense when the offense is already so great? We should make additions to the defense. So do you agree with that, Doc? Do you think that's more where the Bills should go with this money?
If it fits and it's worth it, then it's good. So obviously we could use a little upgrade at tight end, but then you get to the debate: is it gonna stunt the growth of Knox? Are we ever gonna know what his full potential is? And is Ertz even better than him at his age right now? We don't know. To be honest, we don't seem to use, in my opinion, we don't seem to use the tight end. We don't use them. What's the word I'm looking for? We don't highlight them in our offense. So I don't know if using our spare cash is good to be putting it into Ertz's pocket. Could it help? Absolutely. Can he be more of a steady hand and, red zone threat? Possibly. But, Knox is going on his third year too. So we could see like a big kind of breakout as well. if you want to know my opinion, if we got spare cash, I think you should throw it into the secondary. I think an extra corner would be a good idea. I don't want to get too ahead of ourselves, but that's kind of how I see this. But if you're not going to spend it on the corner, then yeah, if you can get Ertz cheap, it can fit under the cap. Let's go. I'll take it. I go either way. I mean, I'm going to leave this one up to Bean and trust him.
Right. And that's what we all really should be doing. Obviously, we all want to play Madden. We all want to be the armchair GM and make our own decisions for what our favorite team is going to do. But at the end of the day, we just got to, in Bean, we trust. And I mean, I agree with a lot of the things you just said about the tight end specific stuff where, yeah, it's really all about that cost. Yeah, I also would probably prefer us making additions to the cornerback, but you also bring up like how it could negatively impact Knox. And this is where I'm going to toss my article in there because this is exactly what I was talking about in my article. I was like, how is this going to impact Knox? Because, yeah, you can make the argument that taking away snaps is going to impact Knox's development in a negative way. You could also argue that maybe that step back and that lack of pressure and he can wrap his head around things, it could be a good thing for him to learn behind someone like a Zach Ertz. However, like you said, do we even know Zach Ertz is better than what Dawson Knox is right now? And I personally think Ertz is. I think he just has more consistency about him. But the concern is, of course, just like the lack of production in the past, 2 years. He's been injury riddled, and obviously they've
Carson
had
Wentz's play.
Exactly. There's tough little circumstances, so it doesn't all fall on Ertz. But it's not like this dude's like 37 years old or something like that. I'm pretty sure he's only 32. It's like same difference with Julio Jones. He doesn't hold a candle to Julio Jones in terms of like the caliber of tight end he is, but it's still like this guy is a top tier tight end underneath the Kelsey, the Waller, I'm blanking on a third one, but those
Kittle.
Top tier guys. Kittle, thank you.
Yeah,
dude's always injured. But yeah, that's the thing. And you mentioned it, like tight ends, they take a long time to develop. So someone like Knox is like, we don't want to get in front of that progression. And there's a lot of different talking points on it. But that's what makes it so interesting and why we're also interested to see if this deal's going to get done.
So this is a good question, and a question for Dable. So if you're sitting in a meeting with Dable right now, and Josh can be there too, and be like, hey, if we had a tight end there that we could trust, who could do this and this, our whole offense would take it to the next level. If they believe that, then go get him. But If they're like, you know what, he's just like a little upgrade from Knox, and he might pull down a catch or two or be a nice veteran presence, is it really worth it? That's why the salary cap guys got to kind of look at that big picture. The problem is if you bring him in, you might have to extend him, so that can be a thing down the road. And also, obviously, he's going to eat up quite a bit of cap. You don't have that luxury of rolling it over next year, especially when you're trying to re-sign all these guys. So,
yep.
Honestly, I think Dable holds a lot of weight in this decision, and he should. And if he feels like, you know what, guys, if this offense had a tight end, we wouldn't have puttered out in certain situations, then if you can get him for a flyer, let's go. I definitely wouldn't throw in a second or third for him right now. Future draft picks, I wouldn't do that.
Right.
But you get a fifth, sixth for him, somehow restructure his contract a tad, and you're going to utilize him, then sure, let's go.
Yeah. And you bring up a great point when you talk about like bringing Josh Allen and Brian Dable into the room, and you ask them like, hey, would this change the offense? Would this be transcendent for the offense, getting this kind of addition to the tight end room? But is that addition, does it marginally upgrade that tight end room, or is it a significant upgrade? And if it's significant enough, it begs the question, are the Bills not using the tight end position like other teams do because of personnel, or because of what Brian Dable wants to do on offense? Because you could argue prior to 2020, they were using multiple tight end sets. They were using fullbacks. They weren't using this spread offense. They moved to the spread offense and they were wildly successful. So it begs that question, like if they had a better tight end, would they use them in the traditional role, or would they want to use them in more of a Dawson Knox, like extended off the line of scrimmage type of role, almost playing like a slot receiver kind of thing? So it's very interesting because it makes you wonder, what would they do if they had an elite tight end? Would it change the offense, or would an elite tight end require, top tier premium investment, and then it's not being used the way, like, proportionally to that investment? So that's where I think a lot of pushback comes with this Ertz stuff. People saying, if we're going to invest a fourth, third rounder, he's got to do something. Like, he's got to be targeted more than the 44 times or whatever that Knox was last year.
Correct. We're also talking about someone who's maybe marginally better at blocking than Knox. It's not like we're bringing in someone who has a lot of scheme versatility. I mean, he's a pass catcher. He's kind of off the line kind of guy. It's kind of the same thing. You're looking for a little boost out of Knox, probably a little slower, but a little wiser and more sure-handed. So, look, deep down inside, I don't think it's worth it. Okay. I'd rather put that value somewhere else, either roll the money over, save it. Maybe you want to bring someone in closer to the year. And yeah, like, we'll probably get to it, but the cornerback is a big question mark. As much as we're high on Dane Jackson and Levy Wallace is a steady cornerback too. I don't know. You want to bring someone lock in, you get one or two injuries, and that depth chart's going to look pretty thin.
Right. So, Alec, of course, I know this is your article, so I'm glad we didn't wrap it up before you got back. But technical issues, rest assured, we're done with that. But I want to know what you think about the Ertz versus Knox thing and the impact on one another, and just your thoughts on if the investment's worth it.
So personally, I think the investment is not worth it. I'm not the biggest Zach Ertz fan. I believe with the last couple of seasons, him being injured, him going a little bit over the hill, he's over 30 now. We have a young talent in Dawson Knox, and I feel like he has time to mesh with Josh Allen and the rest of the team, and he already has chemistry with all of them. So with that being the case, I believe that there is no point in us getting a player like Zach Ertz, and that money would definitely be spent, like Doc said, either rolling over in the next season or being spent on defense this season.
Right. I think the rolling over one is extremely interesting because of, like, the Josh Allens, the Tremaine Edmonds, even some guys, like, if we want to extend Diggs now, even more that we push the can down the road with the Diggs restructure. Like, it'd be nice to have that money for next year when we have to make significant investments. So that's the interesting little wrinkle to this whole thing. They might just make that space just to keep it and to roll it over. It might not be for this year. It might just be to increase their flexibility should anything go wrong this year. So we all need to just wait and see what Brandon Beane's going to do, and in Beane we trust. But we'll move on here to the cornerback position, which is obviously, I think, even myself, I would prefer to add a cornerback in free agency than go acquire Zach Ertz. But I wouldn't hate if we got Zach Ertz in a trade. But I want to know what you guys think about defensive free agents and specifically the cornerbacks. Alec, I know you highlighted Richard Sherman specifically. Would you like to talk on that, specific to Richard Sherman and how he can improve this defense?
Yeah, so I did get a couple of comments pertaining to me saying that Sherman could be a mentor to Trey White. But I just want to say, I don't mean like helping him become a better player. I mean more the mental aspect that it takes to make it through the playoffs and to actually win a Super Bowl. I understand that Trey White is one of the most elite cornerbacks out right now, and that Sherman can't really do that much for his game at this point in time. But I'm talking more about the mental aspect. Sherman is such a smart player. He's played on great teams, and therefore I believe that having him come in and help out our young cornerback room would be a great thing to have for our team.
I 100% agree. Doc, do you have anything to add on Richard Sherman specifically, or do you have another cornerback in mind?
I don't. I do have something to say about Richard Sherman, though. I'm still bitter about that Monday Night Football game where he clearly was offsides. He didn't stop, and he definitely tried to injure Ryan Lindell. Also, he's got he's mouthy. Guys might respect it. Guys might not like it. So that's a McDermott decision to see if he's going to fit in that locker room. On paper, would love it. A veteran, $3, $4, or $5 million, fill a hole.
Right.
But I don't know if he's going to want to be taken over, possibly by Dane Jackson and Levy Wallace. I mean, we need someone who's, I think, is good value, who's going to be a team guy, kind of play a little bit under the radar. And if these young guys step up and take his role, he's cool. He's going He's just going to, he's going to do what it takes, and he's going to sit back. He's going to be the QB cornerback 3, cornerback 4. I think if Richard Sherman comes in there, he's got a lot of cameras, lights on him. He's forced into the starting role. Now, if he's great, I get it, but he's very old, and I could see this going vile real quick. That's the only problem. So again, I would say in Bean we trust, in McDermott we trust if we think he's a good fit for the locker room. It could work really good, and it could backfire, and I really don't have the answer. But I'm leaning towards no, just because of what I've seen him in the past, and he kind of rubbed me the wrong way.
You definitely bring up some good points in terms of like the locker room and specific to Sherman, because the way I thought of it, it was all positive. But you're absolutely right. There could be the negative, and I was just kind of being naive to overlook that. He could absolutely not be okay with someone like Levi Wallace, an undrafted guy like Levi Wallace, or a 7th round pick like Dane Jackson taking the CB2 spot from someone like him, like a prestigious, very above the bar cornerback in this league for the past decade or so. So I could see it going sideways. Like you said, he's that kind of elite competitor. He might not be okay with losing that kind of starting role, but he could also be, like Alec said, that guy that's mentoring these young guys, and he's going to be okay taking a back seat on a team that's going to win. And that's what he recently just put out, the fact that he wants to go play for a team that's going to compete. So that's why I think it's a great topic of conversation, because, I mean, the Bills are set up that way, but how much does he mean, like, I just want to go to a competitor and that's that? Or I want to go to a competitor and I want to contribute to that team's success. Like, I really want to contribute on the field to that team's success. So it's definitely going to come down to how he would handle it. And if, like you said, McBean really believing in the fit and the culture fit into the locker room. So that's definitely where it goes from there.
I think it's important if he does sign with us. It's important the dialogue they had before he signs. If they're like, Richard, you're coming in, you're our second cornerback, we're rolling with you. Or they say, Richard, look, we know what you bring to the table. We want you to work with the guys. We're going to lean on you, but listen, we're going to give you some blows. We're going to phase these guys in too. This is a 1-year plan for us. And when the going gets tough and we get deep in the postseason, we want you fresh, and then we want you playing.
Right.
Unless someone else totally took off and they kind of say, screw you, because we'll be in a different position there. But
right.
You know what I'm saying, right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a great point. So the next two guys I want to bring up are a little bit different on that, like, locker room. Like, would they be okay taking that back seat? And it's Steven Nelson, which we've talked about before, and Garyon Conley. That's someone I just kind of saw was available, and he's kind of a younger guy. So I'll start with Garyon Conley. I don't know if you guys have opinions on him, but I'm just going to bring him up to say he's someone who thrives in man coverage. That's not what the Bills do, but it would be interesting to see them bring someone like him in, because it'd be nice to see a wrinkle in our coverage style. He would provide some of that multibility, like a way to do something else on our defense on the back end. I don't know if it's going to be a fit, though, because he has been deficient in zone coverage. The big key with Garyon Conley, though, is he's like 25, 26. Like, his ceiling has not been reached yet. He's had a tough shake of it in the NFL. So if he gets in with the right coaching staff, like Sean McDermott, very good at developing these defensive backs, it could work out for someone like him, and it could be a great little redemption arc for him. I just don't know if he's a fit. I don't know if he's a culture fit. I don't know if it would work out from that perspective, but he's someone I could see jumping into that CB2 competition. And it's like him, Levi Wallace, Dane Jackson, like all three of those guys could be competing for that same spot. And all three of those guys should be okay understanding, like, yeah, if that dude goes down, like, I am just as good as him and I will be able to contribute. So do you guys have any thoughts on, Alec, I'll start with you, Steven Nelson and Garyon Conley?
Personally, I think that this year, because of how we draft the defense line and all, I believe that we will end up running more man coverage. So I think one of those players could suit our team very well. I believe that we do need to mix in man blitzes and stuff like that a little bit more, because I feel like we could be very successful. We can create a lot of pressure that way. And if we can lock up on the back half of it, I think our defense will be top tier, just like it was 2-3 years ago.
Right. Yeah, that's what we're all trying to get back to, that 2019 defense and prior, this team that was leaning on defense and stuff like that. But now it's going to be like, we don't need to lean on defense in the run. We want to lean on defense and Josh Allen. So it's a different shake of it, but we'd like to get back to whatever was leaning towards that defensive success and however we can get back there. Doc, you got any opinions on those last two corners, Garyon Conley or Steven Nelson?
Yeah, I don't know about him enough personally. But just reading between the lines, someone who kind of was a high draft pick like Connolly out of Ohio State, I believe. I feel like if the guy had, if he was a good culture fit, he'd probably have caught on with someone by now.
Good point.
I'm just saying this, and I could be totally wrong, but I got a feeling there's some tarnish on him. For Nelson, I mean, he just got cut. He might be just weighing out his options.
Yeah.
But he's another guy who, if the price is right, and he's a culture fit, bring him in. I don't really know him. I mean, see, that's why the whole thing with us is like debating, but we don't really know these guys between like underneath the layers. So if they know who they are as a person, they know their agent, they know their buddies on the team, they could vouch for him. He's going to come in, be a team guy, get him. But I feel like if those guys were, they probably would have been scooped up by now. So, there's a lot of warts on the guys that are sitting out there right now. Yeah, it could be an injury thing too, right? So I think the team's just looking for some cheap value that's going to fit well. It's just how I see this one going.
For sure.
If they even do bring in some secondary help. Unless they see something at training camp and they're like, shit, Dane Jackson is good. Wild Goose is good.
Yeah.
We are definitely going to roll with these guys. And then they get something on the, they can even bring something in super cheap on a minimum deal that won't affect. Another thing is you don't want to screw up that equation for the compensatory picks. So I'm pretty sure if you get guys on vet minimums, they don't count towards it. So they might be just waiting until the last second when guys are like, look, I'm just want to sign. Then we'll get this guy for dirt cheap, and he's not gonna cost us a compensatory pick.
Exactly.
So there's a lot of things at play here. But
there's a lot.
I knew one thing: they're not gonna bring in an asshole.
Yeah.
And they're gonna get someone who's good value. So I would be shocked if it was
very
Richard
true.
Sherman though. But I'd roll with it if he's cool. I would like you guys to interview him, though, and ask him about the time he ran into Brian Lindell, because I did not like that. And then he was very arrogant in his post-game press conference about it. So,
oh, man. I'm going to have to go back and look at that.
Scarlet letter after that.
I'm going to have to go back and look at that, because that's like that. Bad. The memory of that is completely slipping my mind. But, man, Ryan Lindell, I haven't heard that name in a while.
Yeah, you're probably like 12 or something, right?
Yeah, not very old when I was watching Ryan Lindell split the upright. All right.
Look at you now. You're the man.
Yeah.
You're the man now. You got the background. I do have the background. I got this. I had to pay for that.
Maybe I could, just put that right there. Keep comment tighter. It's amazing. So we're going to move on to defensive tackles. Obviously, this is an area where some people are a little wishy-washy. We've talked about Starr and the few little workout tapes that he's put out, things like that. Everyone's concerns about his weight, concerns about his durability for the season, whatever it may be with Starr and even these other guys at the defensive tackle position. But we all know that we would like to get better stopping the run. It's not so much about interior pressure. It's more just about stopping that run from the interior and making it easier for guys on the second level or even the edge rushers to make tackles. But Alec, I know you specifically highlighted Sheldon Richardson. You can go ahead and talk on him and anyone else that you might be considering from a defensive tackle position.
Yeah, so personally, I like Sheldon Richardson because of like you said, he's great in the run game. He has multiple tackles for loss last year. He's always been a good run stopper. I know he's not a true one tech, but he could definitely play on the inside. And if we do need help rush on the inside, he could also do that. He had, I think 4.5 sacks last year. So he can still get it done in the pass rush as well as the run game.
For sure. He's definitely someone that initially you kind of look at his height and weight. We talked about it last week, and you just kind of think, oh, this is another 3 tech. But he's surprisingly good at run stopping, and he does bring that ability to run stop and actually rush the passer from the interior. So the fact that he can do both is definitely appealing. But, yeah, it's going to come down to cost-benefit analysis. We're paying our defensive line a lot of money, and we're paying Starr a lot of money. We don't even know if he's someone we can move on from next year. So is an investment above vet minimum or anything in that range really going to happen? Is it even needed? So Doc, you got any defensive tackles that you're looking into, or are you not even concerned about defensive tackle? Where do you stand with it?
I am, because the run stopping was concerning, and it actually has been quite a bit through McDermott's career.
It has
at Buffalo, but I feel like we did have a little stretch where it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
But listen, here's the deal. These guys know Star Lotulelei well. They brought him in. They had previous interaction with him. I don't think Star went AWOL, lost weight, and got in shape. I think they told him to do that because he's on a 2-year plan with us, and they want him healthy and slim down a little bit, and more longevity to his career. I mean, he was like just a big tank. So, and the fact that the guys they bring in, I honestly think that they're totally cool with these 1-tech, 3-tech hybrids. They don't really want that fat run stuffer. They never did. I don't even think that's in their how they see the team fit. Do you understand what I'm saying? Or they would have probably had some in here by now.
Yeah.
So I think they slimmed down Star. They want him on for 2 more years. He could still play 1 technique for us, of course, but now he's going to be slimmer, faster, stronger, and healthier too because he's had a year off. Mm-hmm. For Sheldon Richardson, I do not like him. The guy's got the scarlet letter too. I don't know if you guys remember. I think he got caught driving 110 with a 7-year-old in the car with
not great
unlicensed gun under his seat. Now,
not great.
Listen, people can recover. They can become different people, but I'm not stupid. I'm pretty sure the guy's, I don't think he's changed that much, and I hope that doesn't come off the wrong way saying that. But I don't think that's a guy you're going to bring into this team. If they do bring someone in, it's going to be someone we probably never even heard of, who plays a little good, and we're like, oh, wow, this guy's got some game. And then he goes on and off like inactive list type deal. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, that.
Who was awesome is that Justin Zimmer. Mm-hmm. I think they did find a gem in him. And Harrison's healthy now 2 years later, and he definitely looks a little bigger. So I'm pretty sure he's more 1-tech than 3-tech nowadays. Mm-hmm. He definitely got he got pumped up. Yeah. So I think they're actually cool with rolling with it. I think they wanted the pass rushers. They drafted the young guys. They're going to keep the vets for 1 more year and then turn it over to them. Now we got 3 young guys with 2 years experience or less going into 2022.
Yeah, I actually think you're right. I definitely think you're right when it comes to how they value the 1-tech or like a big nose tackle, just a big fatty. I don't think they're trying to go grab a guy like that. It seems like they want more versatility from someone like that, especially when you start bringing in the argument of saying, hey, maybe they did want Star to slim down a little bit so he could be more effective on pass downs. Because I actually went back and we're thinking about doing a film session for Star, and I watched some of his tape against the Browns in 2019. He was so ineffective against the passes. Like when he was pass rushing from the interior, he didn't do anything. He just pushed the pocket a little bit, like maybe 1 or 2 yards, but he couldn't do anything. And we see those workout tapes, like he's really working on his hand usage and his hand movement and like how he's swimming over people. Yeah, all of that stuff. Like he's really working with it. So it makes me think like they really want versatility on every part of this roster. They want people to do multiple things. They don't want one-trick ponies. They don't want guys that they can just come in on 3rd and 1 and that's it. They're paying this dude to come in and play 3rd and 1s. They don't want that. They want someone that can stay on the field as much as possible. And that might be very well why Star is looking a little bit slimmer. One thing I would like to put out there though about Star, I'm pretty sure he was like 315. While that's pretty heavy, I feel like people were acting like he was 340 pounds. And he just wasn't. He was listed at 315, but he looks like a 330 guy. There's no doubt about it. And that stuff, when you get to that size, those things, first of all, a guy that size can listen. I could fluctuate 10 pounds week over week, depending on what I did on the weekend. So a guy at that size can probably fluctuate 15 pounds pretty easily. So if they're like, pack it on, he's 330 in 1 week. If they're like, dude, like you're a little heavy, he's like, that's fine. I'm going to the sauna a little bit. And now he's 315. So the fact that his body, it's all about body types, right? Like mesomorph, endomorph. He looks definitely a lot more endomorph than he looks more
The moral of the story is, I'm getting caught here. He looks more muscular, more cut up than
He
kind
does.
of like big and bubbly that he used to.
So,
You get what I'm
Mr.
saying.
Diggs, yeah, Mr. Diggs, I see you in the comment section asking how tall Star is. I'm looking it up right now. I believe he's 6'2". Yeah, he's 6'2", according to Pro Football Reference. Same place I got the 315 metric. But yeah, like you said, Doc, it fluctuates. Those numbers, they're not set in stone, especially with these big guys. Like it does. It changes. It's not even what they're listed at. That isn't going to be necessarily their playing weight. You know, they might weigh in prior to the season just for the game programs and all that stuff. But those numbers aren't necessarily accurate. There's a lot to dig into on that, but we don't need to.
Even Boogie and Groot, right?
Right.
Look what they're listed on different websites. I mean,
Yeah,
he's 265, he's 285, he's 275. They're all different because these guys,
right.
I think they're kind of like juggling where their teams want them or what they were doing in the offseason. So I know that Rousseau is definitely on the track to get bigger.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because what was he like, 245? Something like that, 235, whatever.
Yeah.
He's on the Get Big program,
250.
and I'd assume Boogie, they want to slim down a little bit, but I don't know because he doesn't look like he slimmed down much yet, but we'll see.
Right. So I'll round this off quickly, the defensive line, defensive tackle talk. I was going to talk about Damon Snacks Harrison because he's still available. However, I really, really aligned with what you were saying, Doc, on the Bills just not wanting that one-trick pony, that dude that's just going to sit in there and stop the run, clog gaps. I think they want more versatility from that position, that area of the field. So I came into this trying to talk up Damon Harrison, and now I'm a little butthurt that you rained on my parade, but I think you're right. I do think you're right. I think they're okay with rolling out what they got. I believe in Harrison Phillips a lot this year. For whatever reason, I'm putting a lot of eggs in that basket. I really do believe in what he's going to do this year. I think he's really going to stand out. It is a prove-it year for him, contract year. He's trying to make some money, so he's going to have some motivation.
Last year was his first year back from ACL, right?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. I'll tell you guys, like, Adrian Peterson really changed the way people view coming back from ACLs.
He did.
It's really 18 months. I mean, a year you could start playing sports. Your thigh's still smaller than the other one. You still don't have the proprioception. You're still favoring. It takes 18 months. He's going to be 2 years out when he plays next year. He looks bigger. He looks stronger. He's going to be wiser. I'd expect big things out of him.
Yeah.
I think he wants to be a technician, so I think things are on the ups for Harrison Phillips. I like how he looks and the way he's talking.
With the ACL stuff, it's all about being comfortable again, like getting back to feeling comfortable on that leg and trusting your knee again. Because it does take a while for you to go back to trusting that leg.
That's right. Yeah. Everybody's different. Some people can come out of surgery stiff. They might have a keloided scar. Or they could have had like an allergic reaction to the incision glue. Like so many variables. Adrian Peterson, I don't know what he did, but he came back fast and he looked a lot bigger and a lot stronger. And I could tell you off air what I think happened there, but it is what it is. It all starts with these guys are freaks, and then their job is to rehab.
Yeah.
So just, it's crazy. And whatever he did it exceptionally well. So, who knows? Harrison might have been fine. He just didn't have his feet underneath him. But now he's 2 years out. 2 years is the magic number, guys. It's not just 1 year. It's 2 years. They're in the clear. It didn't tear his other ACL, so he doesn't really have any other contributing factors. So he should be good to go. Right. If he's not good this year, get that compensatory pick value.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm going to transition here from the talk on what to do with the cap space and specifically who it was that enabled us to make this cap space. And that brings us into your article, Doc, on Stefon Diggs. So, yeah, we're talking about kicking the can down the road on someone like Stefon Diggs. And how do you feel about taking that financial risk of pushing money down the road for someone like Stefon Diggs? Because I know I feel good about it. How do you guys feel?
Thumbs up. I don't see him screwing this up. I mean, listen, he might just totally change and get selfish. I don't see it though. So what happened? So we gave him money up front, which basically makes him happy. He got
Right.
$12 million in his pocket. And then his cap hit went down, so we have more money this year. And now he gets like $5 million added on to each year on the back last 2 years, right?
Yeah,
So
I
now
don't
he
know the
went from
exact figures, but yes, they're added on the back end. Yes.
Yeah, so he went from like 12 to 17. They're going to – listen, once he plays out this money, he has no more guaranteed money. They're going to have to re-sign him. I mean, they're going to have to give him an extension, which is fine. And then they could drive down the cap for the next 2 years and spread it out. We saw that he's special, and what he did for Josh, he's going to stay, and it's totally fine.
Right. Alec, do you dare to disagree with any of that?
Absolutely not. So I believe that move was extremely smart, and it got everything done for what we need to do to get done. I think Diggs this year, when he gets to see Mafia in full, gets to see all the fans and see how they react to him at the games, I think that's going to completely change how he views Buffalo. He loves it here already, but I think that seeing the fans in the stands is going to be completely new for him, and he's another pay cut in a couple of years so he can keep this team together.
That's crazy to think about. He absolutely could, but once again, that's all going to depend on him and really defeating that narrative of him being that diva, that selfish guy, because he sure did this year, but he's going to have to continue to prove that he is a team first guy. And I think he is as well. I mean, he seemed to elevate everyone around him. And this is how we're going to segue into Doc's article, because the reason I'm so okay with this is because of the makeup of this human being. He's someone who, as we know, played injured. He played injured in those playoffs. And if you're willing to put your body on the line like that, and you're willing to do it for your teammates, it makes me kind of think, like you said, Alec, maybe he is okay with taking a pay cut in the future because he does want to win that Super Bowl, or he wants to win a second Super Bowl, whatever it may be. He may be more willing because he's willing to do what he can for his brothers. And that's someone I'm willing to take a risk on. And it's something to get excited about, because we haven't had a lot of players like this to get excited about through the drought years. But I want to get specifically.
Before you go there, they gave him the money, and yes, it puts a little more risk if they have to cut him. He's going to make 17 and 17. His dead cap, if you cut him after the season, is only 8, and after that it's 4. And I think it was lower before because he came through a trade, so he didn't have any guaranteed money left. So this works out for both of us. Yeah, we take a little more risk if he blows up on us, but it's an $8 million dead cap, and we're still saving 11 off his contract. So it's a win-win. He should be staying with us for, I'd say, at least another 3-4 years. But listen, he did act a little mischievously with Minnesota. So, I'd be a little, I wouldn't say, oh man, I'm all in on Diggs, because he might change his ways if things go sour. But I don't think he's going to, because I think we see that he's gone from like a star to a superstar, and I think 100%. Yeah.
So, Doc, this is your time to shine, because I don't think either of us could speak on the actual injury and the severity of that injury. Nope. Obviously, you probably can't either in terms of like how Diggs was feeling, but you can definitely assure us that he was feeling some pain through those games. But really, how much does an oblique strain, an oblique tear, anything, the severity of it, how does that affect a wide receiver? Because I got to imagine there's a lot of different ways that's going to affect a wide receiver specifically compared to another position.
Yeah, great question. So it's an oblique injury, right? First of all, let's take it back. Do you remember when he got hurt? He got hurt at the week 7. If you go to my article.
Just plugged it down there. Check it out. It's in the chat.
Because I take it through the story. The Bills were playing that week 17 against Miami. They put the starters in the first half, which was like a huge debate going into the week. And then early in the second quarter, Diggs caught a ball over the middle. He's going down, and then he got roughed up by Wilkinson, who was chasing the play, and he was on his knees, and he got kind of pulled over off the top, and he folded up basically over his hip, and he got up gingerly. He came back, and everyone kind of forgot about it. We blew up the score. The second half was all glory stuff with the backup. So Then we get into the next week, and he's sitting out practices for his oblique, and we're like, what the hell happened?
Mm-hmm.
So I go back, watch the all-22. I'm like, that's definitely the play because he's listed as oblique. It's the mechanism, right? You're getting kind of like torqued like this. And so what does that do to a receiver, right? What does an oblique do? It braces your core, and it helps you with twisting motion. So think of, I'm an acrobatic wide receiver. The ball's like kind of over my back shoulder. I got to reach up, grab it, pull it in. I mean, that's half of that's oblique, right? Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's going to hurt. Now, what was the extent of the injury? Was he, flubbing it up a little bit? Is this a grade 2 strain where it's like he ripped a lot of muscle, or was it like a little tweak, like a grade 1 that kind of healed itself in 2 weeks? We won't know. We won't get the details, but he put it out there, and he missed practices, so I'm sure it was sore. Now, can they come in with medicine into that spot called Toradol? Absolutely. Can he play pain-free on game day? Yeah. But if you do that, you're going to wake up the next day hurting a lot. Mm-hmm. So I think that's kind of what happened. They probably treated it. He got the adrenaline. I don't know if he went with medicine or not, but he played the game, banged it up more. He had to sit out a little bit the next week, got himself ready for the next game. Say Diggs is at 100% here. This injury probably brought him down to like 90, 95%. And if you look into the snap counts, the Ravens game, he actually was down in the 80% of his snap count. So I think they saved him a little bit. And then they just put him out full go for the Chiefs game. So what does that mean? Yeah, he could have just had a little strain. That means a little bit of a tear of the muscle, and it's all good now because he's well past 6 weeks. However, you read the article because something caught my ear when I was listening to Bean on one of his press conferences. So he says something funny, like who brings up sports hernia? He's talking about how the draft class it sucks because of COVID and they're kind of behind on medicals, and he's like, you never know if a guy needs something like a sports hernia surgery, which is something that can be fixed with surgery. It takes about 6 to 8 weeks. Tyrod Taylor had it in the offseason. Going into the year, we broke the drought. But the moral of the story is like Diggs' injury is an external oblique. That tendon from that goes through like this pelvic ring, and that is like the most highly vulnerable tendon that causes that sports hernia, which would need, guys, if they play with it, the moral of the story is they can play with it limited, but they're going to want to get it fixed. And the surgery is very effective, except if you go, when I was doing and I don't want to do two side tracks here, but Hamlin had to get 3 sports hernia surgeries. So, the kid's in college. He's not with like a professional rehab team. I don't know if they screwed up his surgery or he dicked around with the rehab or he just went back, going back too early kind of deal. But he had to get 3 surgeries on his sports hernia, that sounded very rare. And I think that's what screwed him up. And then he had to come back from cornerback to safety. So just a side tidbit on that. But moral of the story is Bean said that, and he hadn't seen Diggs yet, right? Because he was absent at OTAs and stuff. So I didn't know if it was a subliminal message or it just came off his chest because he was thinking about it. But they wanted to get Diggs in to make sure he was healthy because that surgery, come in the early summer, get it done, and then you're ready for the season. But if you wait too long, if it's lingering in August and you're like, shit, we got to shelf him, he's going to be out for half the year. So I just thought that was very interesting that he used that example, and then your star player had the oblique injury and he hadn't been back in the facility yet.
Right. That was
what do I think though? Now that he's practicing,
that was where I wanted to go.
I think it's a moot point. I think he's good.
Right. That was exactly where I was going to go because I was going to be I know you wrote this 2 weeks ago, and all of this is very fair speculation.
I think I wrote it 2 days before he showed up for camp.
Exactly.
I wrote it on a Tuesday night, and he showed up a day or two later.
Once he shows up, it's just
once
he shows up, it's he's probably fine. Of course he's gone
maybe
through with the
maybe
trainers.
He read it and he was like, shit, better show this kid.
Maybe he's just this guy's a fool. I don't have sports hernia. I'm fine.
Well, if he's reading that, I want to make sure Josh Allen reads that article about why he looks good in shorts. You guys can also go back and read that gem. And the last one would have been the play that saved Josh Allen's career because he looks good in shorts. He's got great footwork, great charisma, jumps out of the way when he was about to have the same injury Tom Brady had when they barreled into him with his plant leg.
Yep.
Just go back and read it. Listen, can I just put a little plug in for me?
Yeah.
So when you read my articles, they should make you feel funny on the inside because there's like a lot of subliminal types of wording, and there should be some pop culture references. So it should be a fun ride. So you should kind of be like, was that supposed to mean something? It probably was, but just don't cancel me and enjoy it. The moral of the story should be good.
Yeah, no, I really like I just plugged the throw that saved his life, like, or his career. That was like, it was a really good article because I never even thought about it. Like, I really
would
never.
It derail the year?
It could have. Yeah. It really could have.
Hey, think about it big picture. He tears his ACL there.
Yeah.
No joke. Not only does it screw up the year, it screws up his development. Is he good? We don't know. We didn't know. Right. Then he come back this year. Who knows how his rehab went? We're still in kind of a little bit of a COVID state, but he probably would do good. But I don't know. If he tore his ACL at that point in his career, we could have been to the wayside. We've been signing with someone as a backup.
Yeah, that definitely would have hindered his development.
Would have been crazy. Yeah. So we're blessed.
You did a great job too, alluding to that Tom Brady one, because it really makes it like set in, and you think about how we all felt in those drought years, and it's like, oh, Tom Brady went down, we have a chance, and then it's just like, oh, no, not really. But like that's kind of the thing. Like if Allen went down last year, like we don't have a Matt Castle. Like this year we have a Matt Castle and Mitch Trubisky, but like back then, who was or last year it was Barkley.
Matt Barkley.
Like. Yep. Yeah, Barkley came through in week 17, but is he going to come through more than he isn't? So it's very interesting when you tie it back to that and you start thinking about short-term and long-term, like you said, like the long-term development of Josh Allen, like missing out on the second half of these years and that development that he had in all those precious game snaps. So yeah, it was a good read. I definitely recommend both of Doc's last pieces, the throw that saved Josh Allen's career, really, and the Diggs one, because they're both very informational and he ties it back very well to the Bills and everything that was happening in that time period. So I am going to continue and start with the Q&A session. I already see we got some questions down here. Thank you, everyone, for your participation. We'll try to get to as many as we can, and we'll start looking for them. Anyone have opinions on this? Why coming in? Where will Rodgers play this year? I'm assuming he's talking about Aaron Rodgers. I have no clue, and I have like so many weird thoughts about this because it's like, why did this guy decide to do it a day before the draft? Like, we knew how upset Aaron Rodgers was with the Green Bay Packers for the longest time. And then it comes out a day before the draft and no one really has the cap space to do anything about it. Like, what do you guys make of this Aaron Rodgers situation? I'll start with you, Alec. What do you think?
Personally, I don't think Aaron Rodgers is going to play this year. I don't think they're going to be able to find the deal that they want to move Aaron Rodgers. So I think he will end up staying on the bench. And they will have to wait until either his contract moves up or until a team is willing to give them more than they want.
Alex,
I don't think it's coming through.
Yeah, I don't think so either. Doc, you got anything to add?
Yeah, I got a couple levels here. So draft day bombshells has become a thing in the NFL. Can I just take it back through like 3 or 4 other ones? What do we have? We had Larry Tunsil smoking out of the bong.
Gas mask.
You had Josh Allen's old tweets.
Yep.
That made him sound racist, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which, can be debatable. I honestly, if you read deep enough, I think he was just like a dumb kid who was like just quoting rap lyrics and stuff and whatever. I don't want to sound insensitive about it, but anyways, and then the third one, Tyreek Hill.
Yep.
Right? That came out. And now you get the Aaron Rodgers. And who did that? Adam Schefter. I think Adam Schefter's probably behind a lot of stuff. And he knew that this was going on for a while, but decided not to let it out until the day before the draft because he wanted the drama. He probably wanted the clicks. So moral of the story is, what do I think is going to go with Rodgers? Rodgers got like a history, like not even talking to his family. So I'm pretty sure he's like a bitter dude, and he probably can drag this out. Do I think he gets his way at the end of the day? No, because the team's not going to help the team to cut him or trade him.
Right.
They're not going to get good value, and they're going to take a big hit, and they're already up against the cap. I think they end up saving money if he sits out because they don't have to pay him, and then they could get rid of him at the end of the year.
Right. Yeah, it's such an
But
interesting
do I
case.
think I think he comes back. I think this guy's got too much pride to sit out a whole year at this stage in his career. But I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't. That being said.
Yeah, I think I lean with you. I think he's going to cave, but like you said, I wouldn't be surprised if he just stays stubborn with the whole situation. So since we talked about Diggs, John, I saw your comment. I'm sorry I skipped it the first time, but I will get back to it. I promise. We were talking about Diggs, and John wants to know, how are wide receivers looking sans Diggs? And I think this is a good question because, I mean, obviously we all know what Diggs is. Like we do. We want to know.
Mean?
I'm assuming it means excluding. So I'm just going to roll with that.
Oh.
John, you can let me know if I'm wrong, but I'm really assuming here.
Fancy word.
I know, right? I'm assuming it means excluding Diggs, and really it is a good question. Do you want to exclude Beasley here? Because I assume everyone here is squared away in what we think of Beasley.
Yeah.
I did see a comment about Beasley earlier, if he's going to be able to do his cuts the way he did after his fibular fracture. And
Talk
yes,
on it.
He will. Freak accident. I don't know. I really don't know how that can happen. I think because he just put the brakes on so hard, he just ripped his fibula where his hamstring attaches. Almost like a avulsion type injury. It is crazy. The fact that he was able to get back in 2 weeks, and now we're several months. I mean, bone heals in 4 to 8 weeks max. So he should be full ready to go. Now, does he have like some pre-existing ankle stuff that kind of set him up to break down like that? He might. But that injury by itself, isolated, should be fully healed. Should be no issues.
So beyond Beasley, is there a specific guy that you guys would want to talk about? Because personally, I think beyond Beasley, we know what we're going to get. I think we know what we're going to get in Sanders. There's just this whole conversation of where he's going to fit, how we're going to use him. But I think the biggest conversation here is like, what the hell is going to happen with Isaiah Hodgins, Isaiah McKenzie, and Marquez Stevenson? Because this back half of the wide receiver room they're going to be good players. It's just going to be how many of them do we want to keep? Do we want to keep 6 or 7 on the final roster? And if it's only 6, which ones have to go? So do you guys have any, real links, like you're standing with these guys on the back end of this wide receiver competition? Because for me, I think it's Isaiah Hodgins, and it's really just because of the unknown, and I want to know what it is. So I'll start with you, Alec. What do you think about the back half of this wide receiver room?
I'm personally a Stevens stan. I like how fast he is. I like his ability to play in the return game. And I like the fact that he is going to develop alongside a great group of wide receivers that can help him develop into something amazing.
Right. Doc, where do you stand on this back half? Is there someone you stand with?
I would love them to keep 7 receivers so we could keep
Love
them all
it.
in the fold. But you know that they haven't kept 7 ever since McDermott's been here. So I don't know who is the odd man going to be out. I like this Hodgins talk. I've seen the film from him in college. I think that'd be a great guy to keep. And then you get down to McKenzie and Stevenson. And I think we're going to keep McKenzie, and then Stevenson can land on the practice squad, because I just don't think he's that valuable unless he shows out in practice, and I doubt it.
Yeah, that's an interesting point.
That's the squad.
It's something we've been talking about on the Air Raid Hour. It's like, which one of those 3 guys would even be able to clear waivers and get to our practice squad? And I think it was Judge. He was saying that he thinks by all means it could be McKenzie, because of how he just didn't get his fair shake on the market, out on the open market. Because he was saying Jamal Agnew and Isaiah McKenzie were similar players. Jamal Agnew got so much money. Isaiah McKenzie comes back to the Bills for peanuts or literally candy he wants. But things like that makes you believe how much do other teams in the league value someone like Isaiah McKenzie? Because I think the Bills really do value him. But what does it mean for the future? Because he's really only on that 1-year deal. Would it be safe to hope he clears waivers and just kind of like stick with that guy we just drafted, because we know how much Brandon Beane puts into his own draft picks and how much he gives them extra opportunities. Could there be that sense of, I don't want to say bias, but I guess it is just bias at that point. And he's just sticking his neck out for himself. But it's really a tough decision. Like those three guys,
they're going to have a real battle in camp. They're going to see who they're going to see who's sure with the ball on the special teams.
Yeah,
and they're going to say, hey, like if Stevenson beats him out fair and square, he's going to get the roster spot. I just don't see it happening. I didn't hear any buzz from him when he got there. I know the kid's got speed, but he's raw as like a player, as a route runner, and he's got a good, team of wide receivers on the team who can help coach him up. But that's something you want on the practice squad. I mean, look at Dane Jackson. Dane Jackson got cleared for waivers, went on our practice squad, and now we're high on him now. I see the same thing going with Stevenson, because I think McKenzie's got too much value within the real offense as like kind of the motion gadget guy, and he can do the special teams. And Marquez just isn't there. So if a receiver goes down, we can rely on Isaiah a little more than he could with Marquez. Now, if they do 7 spots, let's go. But if they're doing 6, I don't think Marquez makes the initial cut. Can he? We get to the bye week. We're like, Isaiah hasn't done shit. He's like bobble a bunch of punts. Let's just bring Marquez up and cut him, and then we can put him back on the practice squad. That stuff can happen. But if I was a betting man and we were coming out of camp, I'd say that Isaiah's got the 6th spot.
Yeah, there's obviously a lot.
That last spot is definitely going to be.
What were you saying, Alec?
Last spot's definitely going to be decided by special teams. Special teams going to decide that last wide receiver spot. Whoever is going to produce this on special teams is going to get that last spot. And that's why I think Steve ended up getting it, because of the kick return experience.
Right. But kick returns do get a lot of touchbacks now, and it's probably more important to be a good punt returner.
That's true.
And I'd say McKenzie's style is better for punt returning, whereas Marquez is more long speed type of kick returner. So I don't know. These good questions for the coaches. You know what I mean? We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
So it's funny you guys brought it there, because this is exactly segued into Chris S's question. He says, which of these questionable positions will impact us the most, positive or negative? CB2, one tech, tight end, or kick returner? And I was going to answer kick returner, because the disparity of what we lost in Andre Roberts and what we may or may not be getting from whoever ends up starting at kick returner.
I don't think people appreciate how good Andre Roberts was at his job. The way he could stop the ball from rolling down the field. He always made smart decisions, sure-handed. He was valuable.
He was.
Huge field position dude.
He's one of the best kickers in the league.
Yeah.
I know. I just feel like we could, if shit kind of hit the fan, we probably could. You can't hear me. You can't hear that ringing in my ear, can you?
We can hear the vibration.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, right, you're good. You're good.
I'm on my phone headphones, and then I just got a phone call.
No worries.
And with that being said, if shit hits the fan with the kick returner, I think you could start bringing in kick returners, and I think that's what they did. They have a lot of guys that they're cycling through, and they're probably like, we're going to cut 90% of them, but now we've had these guys in house. We've got to look at them. If our guys kind of screw up, we could probably bring these guys off the street. But that, and what I was going to say is QB2, I say, would be the most important. I don't know if we have to bring in a QB2. Cornerback 2 might already be here. So, did you guys get my point?
No, for sure.
I got thrown off. I got a phone call. Sorry.
No worries, man.
Yeah.
No, it's tough, because these are all positions that I think everyone can agree that each one could use improvement, and they're all upgradable. But which one is really going to like impact us, like the most off that middle moderate part of the spectrum? Alec, do you have one that's like really scaring you? Because like I said, mine's kick returner for whatever reason.
Personally, mine is cornerback 2. It's just because I don't know what we're personally going to get out of Levi Wallace and Dane Jackson. So I feel like just bringing in another guy there would be great. But I think that's the position that I'm most worried about, is cornerback 2. There's a lot of good receivers that just came into the AFC. There's a lot of good receivers around the NFL. A lot of teams have 2 wide receivers now too. So it's definitely a need.
For sure. So I'm going to jump into Sheldon Cole's question, and I'm going to look up an answer just to get some context on this for myself, but I want to know what number you guys are going to go with. He asked, how many sacks can the Bills grab this upcoming season? And he says 70 plus.
I think that'd be a record.
Yeah, that's the thing. I'm looking at that, and I'm like, I don't even know how much they have last year. So I'm gonna look up how many they had last year.
I think 40s above average, 50s
Right.
record setting. I think
70.
I don't know what we hit last year, probably in the 30s. I'd say
I think it was like mid-20s.
We only have mid-20s on sacks.
I'm checking right now. I'll give you an answer.
Bad. I'd say we can get high 30s to low 40s, especially with an extra game.
Yeah.
If things go well.
Completely agree.
Team total from last year is 38.
Yeah.
Oh, I was way off.
So let's go high 40s.
Yeah, I think
40s,
there's
50s,
definitely going to be an upgrade. I think, or an increase on that number from 38. I think we can all agree that what we did this offseason is obviously it's youth, it's all potential. It's Russo, it's Basham. I suppose Obata isn't that youth and potential, but he does still have room to grow, room to develop. So there is a lot of unknown with the additions we made this offseason to that edge rusher position. But who's to say Ed Oliver isn't going to be, 3 times more productive than he was last year because now he has Starr next to him. Who's to say Harrison Phillips isn't going to be more productive this year? Guys like that, like sneaking under the radar just because they've been on the team, like those guys can still improve as well. But yeah, I think people like Jerry Hughes, they're going to get more sacks this year. I wouldn't count out, like, if we're keeping Mario Addison, I wouldn't count him out for 4 or 5 because he got, I think, 5.5 this past year. So I think 45 to 50 is probably fair. It is also probably a stretch to just assume we're going to get 12 more sacks because sacks aren't easy to get. But I think somewhere around that, like 7 to 12 more, somewhere in that range, that's around where we're going to be next year. Obviously I'm probably biased because of the film sessions I just did on Epinesa, Basham, and Rousseau, but I really do like what we have. Anything to add on our edge rushers specifically while I check for other questions?
If you're looking at history,
got a lot of finishers in our edge rushers.
How many sacks did we get back when we had the cold front? So that would have been like 2016? 2015?
I will check. Was that the
It's when we had all 4 going wild. Kyle, Darius, Mario, and
was
Jerry.
that the team with what's his
Orton.
name? Schwartz, though? Schwartz is
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, I'll look for that team. Jim Schwartz here. That's 2014.
We had Kyle Orton that season.
Oh God, yeah, we did have Kyle Orton.
Maybe that was 15 or 14.
Let's see, sacks. Ooh, okay. We had 54 sacks led by Mario Williams, Jerry Hughes, Marcel Darius, and Kyle Williams. So, yeah, obviously.
You get into the 50s, we're looking pretty. But then there's a 17th game, so maybe we get, top teams might hit 60.
Didn't even think about that.
I think we led the league in sacks that year.
Yeah, we might have. And that goes to the point, Sheldon, 70 plus. I don't know if it's happening. I just don't. But
we'd win the Super Bowl.
We darn should. If we have 70 plus sacks, we definitely should. No, that's funny though. Yeah, that was. I think we all miss that Jim Schwartz defense, and then obviously we all get slapped upside the face with the Rex Ryan defense that came after. So yeah, it's it's tough looking at that stuff. But I'm looking here. We got Maddie B. Rappa. After Motor talking to Dalvin Cook, do you see a comeback year coming up for Motor? I don't know if it has so much to do with Dalvin Cook specifically and having that kind of like tutelage or someone that you're training with, but I do think there's something to be said about the people he is training with and how much he's getting from that. I just don't know if I can like squarely peg that on Dalvin Cook and him being around Dalvin Cook. But do you guys see a comeback coming? Because I could see one coming for Motor. I could see that comeback, the revival from his rookie season. I'll start with you, Doc. What do you think about Devin?
First of all, did he really drop off that much? I don't think he did.
Not
but
really.
Honestly, he's like a share running back. I don't think he's a bell cow. He looks leaner. Now we saw his upper body, but what do running backs win with?
Yup.
Their lower body. I didn't see a thigh pick. But his trainer, and you don't know, he said, oh, he's he's 2 to 3 tenths faster. I don't know if you could buy that completely, but he definitely looks leaner. He looks good. He looks hungry, and I think he should be pretty good. I mean, I didn't even think he was that bad last year. Everyone's pissed off. He missed that little screen catch, which was he really going to break it forever? It was probably going to be a 15-yard gain. So everyone's like, oh yeah, it was going to be a huge game. And I know it was like very important because it changed like the momentum of the game, but it wasn't like this guy was going to walk into the end zone, and the play was like close to midfield. So everyone relax on Motor. I think he's a shifty guy. He's probably going to be a little quicker. I don't think he's going to break out on 80-yard runs like Chris Johnson, but he's probably going to be better, and he's in his third year in the NFL. But he needs a share. He's not a pounder. He's a wiggle guy. So I don't know. I think he's going to be a little better than last year with maybe a couple more explosive plays.
Before I hop to you, Alec, I just want to fact check you on this. I definitely agree with you, Doc, in saying it wasn't crazy dramatic. It's not like this dude fell off the face of the earth. He was still a good running back. He just wasn't making home run plays. But I think the cause for concern was in his rookie season, he ran for over 5 yards a carry. He had 151 rushes, 775 yards. Last year, he had 5 more rushes and 90 less yards. So that drops him to 4.4 yards per carry. And then obviously those tangible, those like flashbulb moments of him dropping screen passes like that, it sticks in the memory of people, and it makes you start to wish, we had a better running back, someone that was doing more things, getting more yards than just the available yards, things like that. But that being said, like, just because he dropped back just a little bit, I don't even want to say he regressed, but like, he also didn't even have an off season last year. A lot of these guys didn't have an off season. So it's a very unique situation for these guys coming, those second, third year guys. But Alec, what do you think about Motor? You think he's got a comeback on the horizon?
I do, but I don't think it's going to be in the run game. I think it's going to be in the passing game. I think that we're going to switch and transfer over to even more of an air raid offense and get even more away from the run. I know it's tough to say this, but get it from the run and start airing the ball out even more, because we have an elite quarterback and good wide receiver talent. So he would be able to get some good matchups and be able to be productive in the passing game.
That's definitely a very good prediction, because, I mean, everything that we've seen from this offense leads you to believe they're going to do more things like that, passing the ball. And we saw how much Singletary was used in the passing game. I believe he was like, I'm going to try to check this right now, but I think he was like one of the top targeted, maybe not targeted, but he was up there in receptions for this team. Like, he was probably above Dawson Knox in receptions. Like, you think about a running back having more receptions or targets than your tight end, like, it says something about your offense. So yeah, if he's working on stuff this offseason, I would not doubt that, catching passes out of the backfield and transitioning from catch to run is something he's been working on. Things like that. I definitely see a comeback relative to 2020. I see a comeback on the horizon for Devin Singletary. But yeah, I agree with you, Alex. We're a little too
are we too late? Because I got something to say here.
No, you got it.
Yeah, so I feel like 2 years ago we did more pin polling and power run scheme, and then this past year we went more air raid, and then we did more zone blocking. And then with the zone blocking, it seemed like he was a little more like scatterbrain in the backfield. So can we do the pass attack with pin pull for the run game concepts? And maybe it's like a double home run now. I don't know. I just feel like something changed with the blocking schemes. And look, I did play football, but I don't like pick up on it every time I'm watching the game. Like, oh shit, like that's like a power scheme, that's a zone scheme. But I just feel like you definitely could see the change in the run blocking scheme. The guys weren't pulling as much when they were. I just felt like he was more effective. And now there was just like, just sled block here, sled block there, and then he was like get tackled in the backfield a lot. I know that's not like very professional breakdown, but do you understand what I'm saying?
You're right. You're absolutely right. Like he definitely had a lot more success in those pin pull, those kind of power running schemes, and you did see the Bills lean more into the zone running stuff, and specifically that outside zone running stuff. And neither Moss nor Singletary had the quicks, the short area. Well, he has short area quickness, but the long speed enough to get to that edge and make a quick, decisive cut upfield on that outside zone run. And I agree with you. If we could just bring a little bit more of that power scheme back.
Can you do power scheme and still do our passing concepts? Or does the zone blocking play better with our passing concepts because they kind of mirror the way they're blocking? And then because of that, is that why the pass blocking was so good? Because teams thought they were running a lot when he was actually just dropping back and throwing.
Right.
Some deep dive on film. I got way too much going on to do that.
I could look into it this week. That might be my next thing. Now I'll hit 2 more questions though, and then we'll log off and we'll wrap it up. But I got 2 queued up that I want to hit. We got Chris S again. Thank you, Chris. You got a couple good ones in there. This one is, what's the backup plan for if Morse gets injured again? Big drop off. And Doc, we'll start with you. Looks like you got something to say.
Re-sign Feliciano. That's slide him over. You drafted three linemen. One's more tackle specific, but who was our 4th tackle? Who was the 2nd tackle we took in the draft?
Tommy Doyle.
They said he couldn't slide inside, and then you got Anderson. So,
I heard that. Like I heard some sort of rumblings about him sliding inside, and it's just like I'm not putting any weight into it because I don't see someone 6'7", 6'8" sliding inside. I don't want to be too rigid in my thinking by just excluding something like that.
Derek Dockery was good at it.
There are people that are good at it. So like, who knows? But I'm not going to believe it until I see it.
The moral of the story is Feliciano can move over. Right. He obviously can handle center, and then they can find someone to put a guard. If there's one position that you could probably cover up, it's your guard. You know what I mean?
Right.
That's what I would say wholeheartedly. So I think that's the answer. Move Feliciano over. And that might even be their long-term plan. I mean, we've talked about this a lot.
Yeah.
Like, let Morse play one more year, cut him when his dead cap's out, and then have now you got Feliciano on a team-friendly deal. Have him play center 2 more years, and then groom these new guys.
Right. So
Alec, you're gonna need these cheap linemen when Allen's hitting that contract. So I think that's a lot to do with why we drafted 3 guys, because we want to have those resources a little lower while you're paying other guys now.
100%. Couldn't agree more with that last part. Alec, do you think there would be a big drop off in saying like that specific scenario where Morse goes down? That's what we re-signed Feliciano for. Slide him over to center and plug in, say, an Ike Butker or a Forrest Lamp into guard as the backup for Feliciano, who just rolled over. Do you think there's a big drop off, or do you think we'd be okay?
Personally, I mean, with the actual snapping of the ball, I think there might be a drop-off. I feel like Feliciano is not as accurate and as consistent with his ability to get the ball back to Allen in the same spot every time as Morris is, so I think there might be a drop-off there. But in the blocking schemes, I don't think there'll be too big of a drop-off, honestly. I think it'll be perfectly fine. But moving somebody from tackle to guard, I feel like there would be a drop-off. It's very hard to move from outside to inside because there's such a different way of playing and all that stuff from the guard to the tackle position.
Right. No, that's very good analysis. This is why I like having the O-line guy on here, because I know I couldn't analyze it like that. All right, so I'll roll on to our last one, and I see it's from my man Chris Janke. I saw you come in late, so I gotta respect you with the question. You always come in with the good questions, Chris. So he says, who do you guys see as the big free agents on the Bills next offseason, and do you think we will be able to retain them? Hughes, Teron Johnson, Levi Wallace, Harrison Phillips. So I'll start with you, Alec. I'm not going to make you go through all of them, but which of these 4, if there's 2, 3, however many you want to speak on, which ones do you think the Bills are going to prioritize?
Personally, I think it's going to be Teron Johnson and Harrison Phillips. Teron Johnson has such big play potential and ability to make those massive game-changing plays like we saw in the Ravens game. And Harrison Phillips just keeping all that depth on the defensive line, being able to keep our guys fresh and get pressure. I think that's huge. I think those are 2 of the biggest positions on our team right now.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with where you're going with that. Doc, do you got any different thoughts, or do you agree? What are you thinking?
I mean, if Teron has another stellar year, he's actually going to cost a pretty penny. He's super important. He's the slot guy. We don't really have his heir apparent right now, unless Wild Goose is is what we think he could be. That and Harrison Phillips, of course, because Starr's going to be out in 2 years, and if get Harrison in the fold, that looks good. Obviously, Hughes is like Levy is what Levy is, right? Undrafted. He's good. I wouldn't say he's great. I really like the kid, but I wouldn't say he's great. And sometimes he gets exposed. But Hughes is special. And Hughes has been here for so long. He's like the dad of the team. So they might actually prioritize him and try to get him on that 1 year. Like, hey, this is like your Kyle Williams last year kind of thing to keep him in the fold, because he's actually been really productive for being. Now he's turning 35, especially if these young guys don't really show much. Then I think the pressure is going to be for Hughes. If the young guys like blow up, they're going to be like, dude, retire. And then that priority would go to Teron Johnson, I would believe.
Right. So personally, I started with you, Alec, where I was thinking, top two guys I would prioritize, Teron Johnson and then Harrison Phillips. The issue, like you brought up, Doc, is how much is Teron Johnson going to cost? I think the way we attack that next offseason, it's going to be really similar to how we kind of waited on what's going to happen with how we prioritize guys. And it seemed this year that the main guy, the top priority was Matt Milano. And we wanted to see if we can make everything work while getting Matt Milano back on this team. And it took a little bit, and it took a little bit of a sacrifice from Milano, but he did take a bit of a team discount to come back here. So that's kind of how I would see the Bills bring back Teron Johnson next year. It's like, he seems like the guy they would first try to like negotiate with. And if they just simply can't meet the number, they just can't, and they have to move on and bite that bullet. It is what it is. Like, Josh Allen, and I mean, you could debate if Tremaine Edmonds is more important than Teron Johnson, but I think we can all agree that Josh Allen is more important than Teron Johnson. So you have to cut some corners somewhere. And unfortunately, it might mean Teron Johnson, but I think we can all agree that he's probably out of these four, he's the guy that we want to keep the most, but it does come down to cost. From there, I think Harrison Phillips probably is like next to Ed Oliver, the future of our interior. Obviously, I think I'm kind of just drinking the Kool-Aid on this episode a little bit. I think I'm just hyping myself up on Horrible Harry right now, but I'm okay with it. I'm actually going to ride this wave. But I actually think he is the future of this interior past Ed Oliver. And then the interesting part of this is like, if we can't make anything work in terms of fitting people under the cap, I think Levi's an interesting guy to bring back, because it's like we might be able to bring him back cheaply. Like we know what he is. Like you said, Doc, like we know what he is, and he probably knows that he's more than what we're paying him this year. He's worth more than that. But how many other teams are going to be, as comfortable with what he provides as the Buffalo Bills? Because the Buffalo Bills know him best, and he knows the Buffalo Bills best. So there's so much about like the relationship and relationship building that comes into free agency and what guys are willing to take. Like we saw this offseason with all of the people taking pay cuts and things like that. So that's what makes this all so difficult. But yeah, Doc, I agree with you with that Hughes thing. If these younger guys don't really progress the way we want them to in year one, why not bring Hughes back on, a cheaper deal than it is right now? I don't think
1 year, $6 million.
Yeah, I don't think he's expecting anything crazy. I think that's around like, that's definitely a fraction of what he's being paid right now. Would he go lower? I don't know. I don't know. I don't think any of us know. I think $6 million is probably fair, but maybe Bean's like, hey, look, how important Josh Allen is. Like, we got to get under the cap and we got to make this work. If you come back, like, we got a real shot at making a run for this thing again, or, for the first time, whatever it may mean. But, like, these guys, there's a lot that goes into this negotiating process. So yeah, those are really good players to bring up, Chris. Obviously, next year's free agency is going to be very interesting because of the contracts that are on the horizon. But yeah, I think Harrison and Teron are my top priorities, and then it's all based on how they each respond from that. But yeah, that's where I'm going with this one. Great question, Chris.
I think what we have to look at with those guys, though, is like, what do we see happening next year? I think Teron plays well. I think Levy plays good, but he doesn't do anything spectacular. It might even fall behind Dane, so pull him down. I think Harrison looks like he's kind of jacked up and ready to go. His stock's going to rise. Tehran's going to rise. And then Hughes is kind of like that floater, like, hey, it depends how the young guys look. They don't look good. Yeah, you got to bring them back in the fold. Keep the dad there. So great question, but obviously how the season goes is going to dictate how that plays out.
It sure is. It's going to dictate a lot of it. But
are we about to say goodbye?
We are about to, but I wanted to ask.
Can you see the sign?
Oh, I think everyone can see the sign.
Right here? You saw it, right?
Oh, we saw it, buddy.
Of course.
Good. Those are the TikTok leggings.
I wanted to ask you guys, is there anything specific you guys wanted to bring up? But it looks like Doc already knew what I was going to ask.
Look out for the thigh dance article coming out later in July. Because what I want to do is the Bills fan base. I would like to see Josh Allen doing the thigh dance in the end zone in 2021.
That's what we're going for. That's what we're going for. So this is us. This is us from the writers' room, and you guys know where to find us. We're gonna be here every Sunday night. It's gonna be a different cast and crew most times. We're gonna keep trying to shuffle it around, but we're gonna bring the regulars in if they want to come in, and that's who we got with Alec, and now we got Alec's Doc Alex. So
just call me Thigh Doc.
Thigh Doc. I'm gonna go all over the place, man. It's tough with you, Alec and Alex. Like it's tough for me, man. It's tough. But right now, Thigh Doc. I gotta drill it home. But anyways, this is us for the writers' room. You know where to find our work at thebuffalofanatics.com. There's more than just us. Obviously, you guys know Eric, and hopefully we'll get Zach on us with us soon. Editor-in-chief Zach Vaughn. Yeah, we'll get him with us. But yeah, you know where to find our work at thebuffalofanatics.com. Keep interacting with us, keep engaging with us, and we'll keep engaging back. You guys show your support for us. We'll show our appreciation for you because this thing doesn't go without you guys. You guys killed it in the chat tonight. Came through with the questions as always. It was a great one. I had fun tonight. I hope you guys did too in the chat, and I hope you two, Alec and Alex. God, I hope you two had fun tonight too. So this is us.
I had one of the best times I've had in a long time.
There you go. There you go, man. Show. That's why we do it, man. I hope we rounded out your weekend well, and that is it from us. I'll get a Go Bills from all of you, and we will sign off. So I'll start. Go Bills.
Go Bills.
I love you.